Hey, this is Jason Munsell, Dr. Jason Munsell. I got my funky, I love these things. They make, everything pops up. The computer glasses. I wanted to quickly give you a recorded lecture, as I said I would, regarding some of the stuff that we haven't covered face-to-face in political communication. I'm going to try to be very, very quick about it. I apologize for my attire, but I have a fitness class at 10:30, and it's around 9:30 right now, so I figured this would also help me not be long-winded. And so the first thing I'm going to go over is stuff about Jon Stewart and The Daily Show, and everything is coming from Jeffrey P. Jones and his very entertaining book, Entertaining Politics. It's something that perhaps you should buy because it's cool to have cool books and read them. The second slide here is just basically Jeffrey Jones's take on the so-called idea of fake news. And he has a chapter particularly on The Daily Show, which again, if you don't know what The Daily Show is, you can go Google it, but it's Jon Stewart's fake mock news program. But I really like the arguments that he makes, but the main thing that he's arguing, and this book is about a decade old now, but still very, very relevant. He at that time he's very concerned about this, what he calls a myth, and in this case myth is not a cultural story. Myth is more of a falsehood, that young folks are not watching the real news, that they're getting all their news from fake shows like The Daily Show. But what he says, and this is the important thing, that the fake news is actually more real than the real news. Got it? So the fake news is more real than the real news. And so what he does is he offers a case study of what Jon Stewart covered, and this was a week after the first debate between President George W. Bush and John Kerry in 2004, when Kerry was obviously running on the Democratic ticket against George W. Bush. Do you know who won? It wasn't Kerry. And also in that week was the news, if you recall this from a decade ago, that Iraq actually did not have weapons of mass destruction. So that's sort of the context. And moving on to slide 3, what I have here, and you can go look at it. Coffee is delicious. This is from Key West, when I went to Key West. Look at that. Okay. So let's play this thing because it's awesome. Yes, I want to go to it. Please. There we go. Let's see if you can see it. You can do it. It's loading. I don't know. Thank you for valuing my opinion, but I don't want to tell you a thing about anything. Ooh, free Fitbit.
Verizon's the largest, most reliable 4G LTE.
God, I hate these things.
That's right, America. With
I don't care.
400 markets.
I just want to watch what I want to watch.
To get excited about.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
Awesome.
Select plans. N3. You can
Oh,
get our best ever
come
select
on.
pricing starting at $45.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
get all
yeah,
this
yeah,
now
yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah.
network ranked #1 for data performance nationwide.
Okay,
Verizon.
whatever.
Nice to see you. I'm Jon Stewart. I want to offer a huge welcome to all our viewers in Paraguay. And
Sorry.
their fine, fine capital, Montevideo. Really... People come here and think I don't know my geography. Well, they're right. Fine program tonight. Bill O'Reilly will be joining us. And wow, everything we've been waiting for happened today. The official CIA report, the DOFA report, has come out. The one that they've been working on for the past 2 years, that will be the definitive answer on the weapons of mass destruction programs in Iraq. And it turns out Not so much. Apparently, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and their capabilities have been degraded, and they pretty much stopped trying anything in '98. Both the president and vice president come out today in response to the findings and said that they clearly justify the invasion of Iraq. So some people look at a glass and see it as half full, and other people look at a glass and say that it's a dragon.
Okay, so that gives you a little take of what Jones is talking about. So the next slide, basically, again, he's, as I say, he's saying that young people actually are not stupid. That a lot of folks think that young folks don't know anything about public affairs or anything like that. And I actually don't have the books with me. All my books are at the office. And I am at home. But basically, he argues that that's not the case. That even as one could argue statistically that a lot of younger folks do indeed get their news from so-called fake news, that again, the fake news is more real than the real news. And he says basically the folks who are so-called in the real mainstream journalism stuff, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, blah blah blah, they're all just really jealous that so many folks are watching folks like Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. But his thoughts again is, and the big takeaway is he argues that. Jones argues that folks actually get more from Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert than they get from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, BLT, Mo. Welcome to Mo's. Okay, so basically it was a big news week going back to, is the next slide, week of October 4th through 7th, 2004. Again, it was the week after the first presidential debate between Bush and Kerry and the CIA's report on weapons of mass destruction, and both President George W. Bush and Kerry were on the campaign trail. Next slide. So what Jones does is, this is the slide that says CNN kind of sucks. What Jones does in his book is he goes, okay, here's what CNN covered during this entire day. And then he goes, okay, here's what Jon Stewart did. So basically he says, this is the first bullet point. So CNN covers some of the stuff on October 7th, some of the stuff I just talked about. And so basically Jones analyzed what they said on American Morning at 7 a.m., CNN Live at 10 a.m., and news from CNN at 12 p.m. So at 7 a.m., CNN reports on this second bullet point on Bush's campaign in Pennsylvania, and started by focusing on that CIA report. A CNN White House correspondent says blah blah blah, and I'm not going to read that, but basically it's very little information on the weapons of mass destruction. Or there not being weapons of mass destruction. At 10 a.m., CNN stopped showing the brief clip of how George W. Bush responded to this on the campaign trail. And again, I'm not going to read this stuff because I don't have it, but and you don't need to hear it necessarily, but just know that CNN no longer was showing the clip of Bush's response. So at 12 p.m., CNN was simply reporting Bush's line of defending the war in Iraq, no longer talking really about the weapons of mass destruction. So in light of the CIA report, Jones says that CNN basically, and I said I'll read it, but basically ignored it. It did not become big news. And then CNN also covered the campaign stop as a campaign stop. So they were more interested in George W. Bush doing his presidential campaign than actually trying to critique the whole idea that the rationale for going to Iraq, the initial rationale was indeed false. And though CNN did question how Bush's framed Kerry's position on taxes, apparently whatever They didn't really, again, dig deep into questioning much of anything. And again, I'm not going to read stuff for you. But long story short, what Jones does is he looks at everything that CNN did on October 7th here and trying to see how critical CNN was of our elected officials and the things that they have said to us. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. So, he says that The Daily Show did all that much better. And so let's see what Jon Stewart did in light of the news of the day on that particular day, October 7th, 2004. And I'm sure we'll have another commercial.
AJ Green, he's just like you. Except
Yeah.
he's in a commercial. Got hands like glue and just bought a 10,000-gallon saltwater fish tank. Otherwise, he do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to his music, gets caught up in a wire-based headphone situation.
Yeah, that's my life right there.
I've seen that. So like you, he went and did something about it. Now he walks in the world as a boss. Like who? You.
Look at that. That looks exactly like me. I got some red solo wireless stuff just like that. That's what I want for Christmas.
Welcome to the Daily Show. Nice to see you. I'm Jon Stewart. Want to offer a huge welcome to all our viewers in Uruguay and their fine capital, Montevideo.
Again, this starts it, but we're continuing on a little bit longer, I think.
People come here and think I don't know my geography. Well, they're right. Fine program tonight. Bill O'Reilly will be joining us. And wow, everything we've been waiting for happened today. The official CIA report, the Dulfer report, has come out. The one that they've been working on for the past 2 years. It will be the definitive answer on the weapons of mass destruction programs in Iraq. And it turns out, not so much. Apparently, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and their capabilities have been degraded, and they pretty much stopped trying anything in 98. Both the president and vice president have come out today in response to the findings and said that they clearly justify the invasion of Iraq. So some people look at a glass and see it as half full, and other people look at a glass and say that it's a dragon.
But then it continues.
There are more reasons than ever why
shut
now is
up.
the best time to be on Verizon. 1. Verizon's the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in the country. That's right, America. With XLTE in over 400 markets. 2. And here's something for families to get excited about.
Are you excited for Thanksgiving and Verizon? It's very exciting.
And 3. You can now get our best ever single line
I
pricing
hate
starting at
commercials.
$45. So get all this now on the network ranked #1 for data performance nationwide. Verizon.
But anyway, let's begin the night on the campaign trail. Yesterday, President Bush's advisors alerted the networks he would be making a major policy speech in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. The subject, no, not that. Wrong again. That's it. That was the subject. Yes, in the wake of his, let's call it weak showing against Senator John Kerry on Thursday, the president and his handlers snookered cable news networks into giving him 1 hour of free, full-on campaign stop peblum. He began by throwing out the first hander.
Great to be in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. It's such an honor to be back here. It's glad to be in a part of the world where people work hard, they love their families.
Yeah, not like New York, family-hating jackasses. Lazy family haters. But then it was rival bashing time. Bush warmed up with a few insults aimed at the Democrats' #2 man in his performance at Tuesday night's debate.
America saw 2 very different visions of our country, 2 different hairdos. I didn't pick my vice president for his hairdo. I picked him for his judgment, his experience.
Which, sadly, is as good as his hairdo. Bush then moved on to his economic policy regarding Kerry.
Now the senator's proposing higher taxes on more than 900,000 small business owners.